If you've had two completely different women produce the exact same relationship, I'm about to show you why and how to finally stop it. We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. That crazy punani. Am I right, boys? Am I right? I gotta type. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Now, most men walk out of a bad relationship, take about 6 months to get their head straight, and then inevitably rebuild the exact same dynamic with a brand new woman. Same arguments, same loss of respect, same ending. The details change, but the story doesn't, because the main character never changed between chapters. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why that happens, the specific patterns keeping you stuck, and what it actually takes to write a different story. So stay with me, because if you've ever wondered why you keep ending up in the same place, this one's going to sting a little bit. Now, what's interesting is there's this concept of a honeymoon phase. Have you guys ever heard of the honeymoon phase in relationships? Typically, the honeymoon phase lasts the first 6 months to a year in a new relationship. And the reason why is very common. Both men and women do this kind of crap. But when you get into a new relationship, you are on your best behavior. You're like, for men, you're trying to get laid, right? You're trying to get laid. You're trying to impress her. You're doing all this nice stuff. You're taking her out on fun activities and doing all this kind of stuff because you want to get laid. And then women, they want to, try to lock you down, right? So they're on their best behavior too. But everyone ends up showing their true colors after about 6 months to a year. Right? And so a lot of people will end up wasting tons of time, because especially men are really bad about this, but men are sniper daters, right? They're sniper daters. They go all in on one woman at a time. They waste months and, sometimes years with the wrong person because they're trying to get into a relationship quickly because they hate the dating circuit and anything to get off the dating circuit. So they go all in on this one girl that is not right for them at all. And a lot of guys will end up in going for a girl that they think is completely different from their ex, but their behavior, their ineffective relationship paradigms didn't change. And so they might start off good and then they slowly erode and fall back into complacency right away. Okay. So that's a big problem. And man, for guys who are they think that putting a ring on it locks a woman in, and they think this woman's magical and whatever. She's got a magic vagina. And so they're like, I got to lock this one down. I got to put a ring on it. There's a lot of guys that will rush into marriage, right? I had a potential client, a guy, a friend of mine referred a guy to me. And this guy was down bad. He was down bad for this chick who was sleeping around with other guys and all this kind of stuff. And he was cheating on his wife with this chick. And he decided he was going, I'm not giving the full story here. I'm just trying to give the Cliff's Notes. But he decided he wasn't happy in his relationship. So he was going to fly out to where this chick was. And he bought a diamond ring, and he was going to propose to this chick while still being married to his wife that he was cheating with, right? There's so many guys out there that are just so marriage focused. They're like, this is what I have to do. I have to marry every chick that I bang, right? So then they get locked into these relationships that they should have never been in to begin with. And, you know, this is why like guys like Ric Flair, right? Ric Flair has been married, 5 times now? And he keeps having to do last matches. He's like fucking almost 80 years old. We're not at the 8-minute mark. Guys, send super chats. I just dropped an F-bomb, right? He's like 80 years old. He still has to do last matches to try to pay off all these women and all this alimony and stuff like that, because you keep rushing in to these relationships instead of just letting things play out and just being lovingly detached and then pushing through the honeymoon phase to see who this chick really is. No. We are locking it down. We are going all in on this one. And you end up in the same relationship with a different face. By the way, guys, I do have a new episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So like, subscribe, hit those notifications, would you? And I am streaming live to Kick right now. So if you are watching live on Kick, we are new to Kick. So give us a follow and tune in. We have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So here's the thing. Like, these women that you end up in the wrong relationship with, they're not necessarily the problem, okay? Your pattern is the problem. Okay. Now, not saying that these women aren't possibly problematic. Okay. But your ineffective dating strategies and your ineffective relationship paradigms are keeping you going after the same results. You understand? It's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. At some point, you need to realize you need a better strategy. Okay. You need a better strategy. Okay. You've had 2 or 3 completely different women produce the exact same relationship. The common denominator in every one of those situations is you. It's you, brother. Okay. And I don't say that kind of stuff to insult anybody, because we've all done it, right? Like, that's how I got in this space. I finally had the epiphany after Red Pill Chick. That's why I call her Red Pill Chick, because it was after that relationship that I finally had the realization that there was something I was doing fundamentally wrong with dating and relationships. And I needed to change something, because whatever I was doing just wasn't working, right? And at some point, some guys never get that. Some guys end up on their deathbed after 4 failed marriages, never have learned this. Okay. So if you're here and like in your in your 30s or 40s, like, you got some time left to figure this crap out. Okay. It's not a bad thing, but that's the most the most empowering thing that I could tell you, because it means you're the one variable that you can actually change. You can't change all these women, right? You can only change yourself, brother. Okay. So that's very empowering. It's very empowering when you realize that you, oh man, I actually can do something about this. And that's why, if you guys follow me on social media, you guys know that I'm a shit poster. I shit post so much. It's probably hard for some of you guys to know when I'm being serious and when I'm just fucking around. Most of the time I'm just fucking around. Okay. If I really want you guys to learn something, I want you to come over here to the podcast. Okay. Because this is long form. We can actually get into it. You can ask questions in the live chat. We are being mostly serious on the podcast. Okay. But that's the thing I really want most of you guys to walk away with, is this feeling of empowerment that, oh man, I can actually do something about this, instead of like standing on a soapbox bitching about women, right? Because that's not what this podcast is about. Okay. My shit posting might be, but that's just for entertainment purposes. So here's the thing. You have this emotional homeostasis that's keeping you stuck. Your nervous system is comfortable with dysfunction, and not because like you love drama, but because the chaos is familiar to you, and familiarity feels safe even when it's destroying you. Okay. I had years ago, I had Dr. Robert Glover, the legendary Dr. Robert Glover, on the podcast in the early days of the podcast. It's still like one of my most downloaded episodes on Spotify. And Dr. Robert Glover came on, and one of the things that he pointed out to me, really, it made sense, because I was seeing it in all my 3% brothers. Because at the time when he was on the show, the 3% man group, the original 3% man group, was still thriving. I hadn't started the Wolf Pack yet, and I could see it. I could just see it in the patterns that even my 3% brothers, guys who have been studying this shit, were doing in their relationships. They were falling back on old patterns and stuff like that. A lot of the guys would study the stuff just long enough to get into their next relationship. They would stop studying the stuff because they thought they got it. And then they would fall back on the old programming and fuck up that relationship. And they would be back in the group in like 6 months, a year, sometimes 2 years. They'd be back in the group and they'd be like, hey guys, back in the group, you know, whatever. And you're like, what do you mean you're back? Why'd you leave? And they're like, well, you know, I got into a relationship and whatever. And I fell back on old programming. It's kind of a funny situation. Anyway, so Dr. Robert Glover, when he was on the show, was talking about how, you know, a lot of guys will say like, I want my peace. I want my peace, bro. I want a chick that brings me peace and stuff like that. But when you are so addicted to the dysfunction, peace looks very boring to you and you will self-sabotage that relationship. A lot of guys will do that. A lot of guys will get a relationship and peace it feels like boring, and men will fuck that up because they're addicted to the drama. They're addicted to the dysfunction. Okay. Until you realize that that's a pattern for you, you'll never fix it. Okay. That's one of the reasons why I recommend you guys, if you guys are like going through a breakup or divorce and stuff like that, or you're dating after divorce, forget that bitch and get the workbook. Okay. With all my Red Pill Guide series books, there's a workbook that goes with them. And the workbook is designed to bring a lot of your ineffective paradigms to your awareness. And once things are in your awareness, you can change them. But if you don't know that you have this pattern, you'll just keep doing it. And you won't even realize why everything keeps going to hell in a handbasket with you in relationships. Okay. So we don't want to do that. We want to get out of this place of homeostasis. Okay. And you know what's funny too is a lot of us after a breakup, we have this relationship amnesia. You know, like we sort of forget about all the problems in the relationship, and we also remember all the good stuff. And so that also makes us want to like get back with our ex, and like we start pining for our ex. A lot of reason why guys also start pining for their exes and stuff is because lots of different things, but usually it's because the dating circuit sucks, right? They might end up in a short-term fling with a chick for a couple of months, and then that doesn't pan out. And then everything starts like your ex starts looking like low-hanging fruit, you know, and then you don't remember all the bad times. You don't remember all the arguments. You don't remember all the toxic shit she used to do. You don't remember all the meltdowns she used to have. You know what I mean? And so, so you start looking at like all the fun times you had, and then you start pining for your ex, right? So a lot of you guys out there are pining for your ex. If you guys didn't know, I do have a free ebook. If that's you, if you're that guy that's trying to get your ex back, I do have a book for you that'll tell you how to do it. Let me drop it in the chat here. It's ebook.getoveryourx.us. It's absolutely free. You can download it right now. Okay. Go to ebook.getoveryourx.us, or the links in the description now, I think. Anyway, if you get that book, it'll tell you how to get her back, but it also explains why it's a fucking terrible idea. It's an absolute terrible idea to get your ex back. Because one, you have relationship amnesia. You don't remember all the problems. And then when you do get back with an ex, it always ends the same. It always ends the same, right? That's why Iron Rule of Tomasi number 7 is it's always time and effort, better time and effort spent pursuing new chicks than it is to get back with your ex. Okay. But some of you guys won't listen to that shit because you've got relationship amnesia. So let me ask you guys this. Okay. Be honest. Be honest. How many times have you rebuilt the same relationship with a different woman? Right? Same relationship, ended the same, different woman, right? It's essentially the same woman with a different face. How many times have you done that? Okay. Let me know in the chat or down below if you're watching the replay. I know I've done that at least, I think 4 times. 4 times. I've done that 4 times before I finally got my shit together and realized what the fuck I was doing wrong, right? 4 times. Now, while you guys are answering that question, you can't paint over a cracked foundation. Okay. You can't so some of these notes are about getting your ex back and stuff like that. So you can't paint over a cracked foundation. But the thing is that if you're dating the same one with a different face, you're essentially trying to paint over a cracked foundation with this new chick, right? You're taking all your old ineffective paradigms, and instead of rebuilding from the ground up and trying to create a healthy relationship this time, you're basically taking the old person, slapping a different paint job on it, and trying to paint over a cracked foundation. It just never works. It never works. Okay. And then a lot of guys, they do surface level work between relationships, right? They hit the gym, they make some money, but they never look at the actual behavioral paradigms driving the problem. Okay. So they bring a slightly upgraded exterior to the same broken dynamic. Okay. I want you to think about this for a minute. Like, most guys don't do the work. You know, they don't work on what's up here. They might go to the gym, lose some weight so that, you know, dress better, maybe find some slicker smelling cologne, you know, because they think that $300 cologne will get them laid better than a $25 cologne from Duke Cannon. Guess what? It won't. Okay. Duke Cannon's cologne is legit. It's only $25. Okay. They're not even sponsoring this episode. You know, it's funny. I back in the early days of the podcast, I was an affiliate for Duke Cannon, and I legit use all their products and stuff like that. And so I would say that Grant, that was the proper cologne that they had at this time. I think they've discontinued it. They have a whole new line, they're really good. But Grant was my favorite, and I would wear that on Saturday nights because I was like, this gets the job done. Like, women love fucking Grant. Well, I get in a relationship with Nurse Chick, and we found out that they were discontinuing Grant, and so it was in their clearance section for like half price. Nurse Chick bought me like 4 fucking bottles of it, so I won't run out. So I still have like 3 unopened bottles of Grant sitting under my counter, because Nurse Chick's like, no, this does get the job done. No, absolutely gets the job done. Anyway, side tangent there. So guys bring a slightly upgraded exterior to the same broken dynamic. It looks different for a while, but the cracks show up right on schedule. Sometimes they show up sooner, right? A story I talk about a lot on the podcast is my relationship with Red Pill Chick, because after my divorce in 2014, I got into a relationship with Red Pill Chick, and I immediately fell back on my ineffective relationship paradigms from my marriage. And so that relationship ended way faster because I was immediately unattractive. Okay. And when I say unattractive, I mean, you know, not necessarily my physical, appearance. It was my behavior. My behavior was completely unattractive in that relationship. And so she checked out mentally about 2 years in, and then spent the last 2.5 years lining up male orbiters. Right. So that's how I know what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, every new woman starts with a clean slate. Okay. Now, this is a blessing. This is why it's better time and effort spent pursuing new women than it is getting back with your ex, because your ex has preconceived notions about you. Okay. But every new woman, might think that you're slick in the beginning because of the honeymoon phase, but you're still operating from the same beliefs about yourself, the same tolerances, the same fears that you had in the last relationship. Okay. This chick's meeting you for the first time, but you're bringing everyone you've ever dated into the room with you. What's really bad are the guys who try to go out dating immediately after a breakup, and then all they do on these dates is bring up all their old baggage and nonsense. It's shit, right? We got a brother in Wolfpack right now who joined the pack. I don't know if he's doing this on his date, so I'm not picking on him for it, but I do know he does it in the pack quite a bit. And so that's why I bring it up, right? But we have a brother that joined the pack last year. He originally joined because he was trying to fix his marriage. And literally, like, the night he joined, he's like, we start asking him questions about his situation. He starts telling us, we start figuring out that the story's not adding up, and we start having him, look around, look into things. And he comes to find out that his family hid fucking not his family, but his wife's family hid cameras all around their house to try to, stick it to him somehow in divorce. And so once he found all that stuff, it was crazy. It was fucking crazy town. We're like, bro, there's no salvaging this. Like, this is divorce time. Like, you need to start strategizing for this, right? He started working with brother Nathan on divorce strategy and stuff. And the thing is that, that was not even a year ago. And you can tell that, it's not like he wants to get back with his ex, but he can't let go of all the bullshit that she put him through and his in-laws put him through. And now they're going through custody battles and all this kind of stuff. And he can't get that out of his head. And so, yeah, he's out spinning plates now. I don't know if he's bringing it up with these women on dates, but a lot of guys do that shit, right? And brother does bring it up in Wolfpack, which makes me sort of think that maybe he does bring this shit up to some of these women. You know what I mean? And like, no one wants to hear about your fucking bullshit problems with your ex. All that kind of stuff, talking about negative about old relationships and stuff like that just shows that you're carrying a lot of baggage, and you're people perceive you as a negative person, and no one wants to hang out with negative people, right? So it's just a bad thing that people do. But a lot of you guys, even if you're not bringing it up on dates, you're still carrying all that kind of shit with you into the next relationship. And so sometimes that will poison the next relationship too, right? And your nice guy patterns follow you everywhere. You learn somewhere that if you're agreeable enough and low maintenance enough, that she'll somehow love you for it, right? Instead, every woman eventually stops respecting you for the same reason, because you have no boundaries. You let people walk all over you. You're a fucking doormat. And that starts showing up the more you keep trying to qualify yourself to these women. And if you get into a new relationship, you're qualifying yourself to these women and stuff like that. They start realizing I can manipulate you. They start losing respect right away. Right. Or they lose respect over a slower period of time, but they still lose respect for you. And you end up in the same situation that you just got out of. Right. That's really the underlying fundamental problem that 97% of you guys have out there. And is the nice guy syndrome. Nice guy syndrome. And when I say a nice guy, it doesn't mean you can't be kind. Okay. It means that you are not, most nice guys are anything but nice. It's a facade that they put on to try to get their needs met and have a problem-free life, is really what it comes down to. Okay. Dr. Robert Glover went into depth in this in his awesome book that I highly recommend all you guys read, No More Mr. Nice Guy. Okay. And that kind of behavior is what kills all of your other relationships. And it killed your last one too. Okay. So you got to get over that. Now, I do go into a lot of those types of things, but in Forget That Bitch, that's really a book to really identify some of these patterns before getting into your next relationship. Okay. I really encourage most of you guys to slow down when it comes to dating and stuff like that. Don't be rushing into relationships. Even if you just want to spin plates for a while, just to pass the time and get some strange and stuff like that. Like that's okay. But most of you guys aren't doing that. Most of you guys have the nice guy paradigm that every interaction with a woman goes dating, relationship, dating, exclusivity, move that bitch in with you, and then marry that bitch, right? Like that's what, like all you guys think this is a linear process, and you're trying to do that with every fucking woman you meet. And it always ends the same. It always ends in heartbreak. And it's time to learn a different pattern and actually take some time to heal and work on what's up here.
You got dumped, divorced, or ghosted? Good. Because that pain you're feeling right now, if you use it right, it can make you unstoppable. But first, you need to forget her for good. Most men, they waste months, even years chasing closure that never comes. They keep scrolling her feed, stalking her socials, replaying every word she said. That's not just self-torture, it's weak. And you're not weak, not anymore. Forget what your buddies or your mom tell you. Screw being vulnerable. This isn't about making her see your worth. It's about never letting a breakup wreck you again. That's exactly why I wrote Forget That Bitch. Forget That Bitch. This book isn't your average breakup advice. No sugarcoating, no false hope, just raw, honest truth. She's not coming back. You can't fix what's broken, and you're wasting your life every second you spend obsessing. So what do? You get pissed, then you get focused. You rebuild your confidence. You hit the gym, chase your purpose, build your empire. This is your wake-up call. Use the pain as fuel. Cut the cord cold. Because the minute you stop caring about her, your real comeback starts. Inside Forget That Bitch, you'll learn why obsessing over your ex is killing your masculinity. Why you need to quit being a nice guy and start being the man you were born to be. Real steps, real talk, no bullshit. Ready to stop living in her shadow? Grab Forget That Bitch on Amazon or listen to it on Audible today. Don't just get over her. Get over the man you used to be and never let this happen again.
Indeed. And like I mentioned before, grab the workbook too for this. If you're going to get it, go to workbook.getoveryourx.us. The link's in the description for that, I believe. And Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, good morning, gentlemen. Happy hump day. She gets this.
I'm so naughty.
She is.
I'm going to come.
Oh, I will.
She must be ridiculous.
Guys, it is absolutely ridiculous. You're going to have to take my word for that because it's all mine. I own that pussy. I fucking own it. They're like, don't make it weird, Paul. Oh, I'm gonna make it weird as fuck, bro. Brother John's in the house. He says, hey, I made it on time. Hey, good to see you, man. Phil's in the house. He says, hoorah. Darfinus is in the house. He says, happy Wednesday, fellas. Erkin starts off on YouTube and says, good day, fellas. Thanks for dropping the chat on YouTube for the algorithm, at least, Erkin, because he says down here, I will watch the stream here on Kick. He's on kick.com. I'll watch the stream here. YouTube sucks. So many ads. Fair. Anyway, I need to build up Kick anyway. So give me a follow on Kick and, keep chatting in the chat so that it boosts me in the algorithm over there. And then Ty says, morning, guys. And the Darfin says, super chat to cover that Ric Flair slip. Woo! Oh, you mean drip, right? Ric Flair drip. $2,000 super chat. Oh my God, super generous. He's going to get these.
Shame this horse.
We got to shame these horse. So a shout out to Elena Spars Fitness on Instagram. She's the one that created that or gave us that sound drop. And yesterday she had this funny reel where she's talking about what did she call them? Trad simps. And like why trad simps let these fake tradcon women like walk all over them and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, we got to shame these trad simps and shame these trad horse. We can't have these trad horse. Let's see here. Kamal's in the house. He says, I remember Robert Glover was on your vision board and then boom, he was on your channel. That's right. Because let's see, do I have it here? Oh, I don't have it here. Because of magic. I manifested it. That's why. CJ says 50 times, all one night stands. All right. Then Nicholas, is it Garachi? He says Burberry Touch. Is that your favorite cologne? And because it's like $5,000, it gets you laid easier. Is that the trick? I don't know. And then Ty says, a lot of guys do no work at all and expect things to be different, then blame the chick for nagging them all the time instead of looking in the mirror. 97% of men do that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, when I talk about, dead bedrooms and stuff like that on Mondays, like all these guys, I see it in every one of my videos for Get Her to Fuck You Again. Like there's always guys in the comments. They're like, just get another chick, bro. Just get another chick. It's like, yeah, but you'll end up in the same situation down the road because you've never done any of the work on yourself. Right? So anyway, Erkin says, who is that lady saying shame these whores? It's Elena Bars Fitness on Instagram. She was a good friend of us on the Dragon Ship when I used to do the Dragon Ship with RP Thor back in the day. She's pretty cool. She's from Russia. Rolo calls her his Russian babushka. She's a hoot. Anyway, So you're attracted to familiar, not necessarily compatible. So the women that you keep choosing, they feel magnetic and exciting right away. And that feeling is actually a clue that you're in trouble. You got a problem, brother. You got a problem coming. You don't even know it's coming. Okay. Because that instant pull often is just your nervous system recognizing a familiar emotional environment. Compatible and familiar are not the same thing. And until you know the difference, you'll keep chasing that feeling instead of a good fit. And this is why I was talking about earlier how Dr. Robert Glover said that a lot of guys keep going back to toxic relationships, very similar toxic type of relationships, because they're drawn to the chaos, right? It like they might say they like it, but they're addicted to it. Okay. It creates endorphins. It creates all this chemical response in your body that you're mentally addicted to. And when you get into a relationship with a woman that does none of that stuff and is just loving and serving and submissive, like we all say we want in the red pill space, those women come across as boring. And so you end up cheating on them. It's the same thing as women cheating on nice guys and going with toxic fucks, right? It's the same thing. Because the toxic guys are exciting, man. Oh, those guys, they're exciting. They're sexy. They got throat tattoos and they fuck like crazy, right? Like that's why women go for that shit. Because that toxic dick hits differently, right? That's why at the beginning I joke and I go, guys, I'm going for that crazy pussy, that crazy pussy. You know how that's when I say that shit, I say that very tongue in cheek because I've been in a relationship with Nurse Chick going on 6 years now. And she is the least toxic person I've ever met on the planet. She's super caring, super nurturing, invests so much into the relationship. And like, she's the opposite of drama, right? So she's not crazy at all. And we have a phenomenal relationship. It's effortless. It's actually effortless, but I've let go of all that toxicity. You know what I mean? And if she does have problems, like she doesn't try to drag me into it. And even if she tried, I wouldn't let her. I'm not trying to get dragged into fucking drama. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it sucks that you're dealing with that. You know, and it's not an issue. And like, everything's fine. Everything's good. So what you tolerate, you teach. Okay. Like we have this saying in the red pill space that women are only as shitty as we allow them to be. Okay. Women are only as shitty as we allow them to be. And the way you stop that kind of behavior is by having standards and boundaries, and not being afraid to enforce those. And largely enforcing your boundaries 9 times out of 10 means being able to walk away. Okay. Being willing to walk away. The strongest negotiating position is being willing to walk away and mean it. Okay. The cardinal rule of relationships, shout out to Rollo Tomasi. The cardinal rule of relationships is whoever needs the other person the least has all the power in a relationship. Okay. You got to be willing to walk away, but most of you guys aren't. Most of you guys are afraid to be alone. And so you get into these relationships and then you try to hold on to these toxic relationships that you should have never been in to begin with. Okay. But that's because you're in this pattern that you haven't identified yet and you don't know how to break out. Okay. So every relationship, you let certain things slide early because you don't want to rock the boat. You're still trying to make this girl like you. And you give her like the playbook on how far she can go and use it. Okay. And it's not because she's evil, but because you handed it to her. And the thing is that women are wired to extract resources from men. Women are wired for this. Okay. It doesn't make them bad. They're wired for this. They're wired for extracting resources from men. So when you allow her to manipulate you and treat you like shit, and then you continue to cave in because you have a happy wife, happy life paradigm, and so you let her do all this kind of shit, you're teaching her that she can do all this kind of stuff. She loses respect for you, but she's still willing to take from you. You understand? And then you end up in the same position you were in your last relationship. Okay. And it's because women, you continue to allow women to cross your boundaries. That same resentment builds up every time you allow it. And then you have the same ending every time with just a different woman. Every time. Okay. It becomes a pattern. And at some point you got to realize that You're the one that's allowing this to happen. Okay. And when I say stuff like that, guys get really pissed. Like, what about these bitches? We're not holding them accountable. Ugh, right. Okay. First of all, how are you exactly holding women accountable, brother? How are you doing that exactly? Okay. The only real way that you can hold women accountable anymore in modern society is walking away, removing your time and attention. You can't slap the shit out of a bitch anymore. Okay. We don't live in a country like in the Middle East where you can stone these bitches to death to hold them accountable and teach them a fucking lesson and make an example out of them. Right? No, you can't. All you can do is remove your time and attention, but you're too fucking scared of being alone to do that. Think about that for a minute. Okay. Now, some of you guys, you're tuning into this episode right now and you're already in a rebound. You're already in a new relationship. You know, we had a brother in Wolfpack last year that I knew it wasn't going to end well. I knew it wasn't going to end well at all. It was funny. It was kind of funny, but sometimes you have to let people figure this shit out, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Okay. And this happens. There's probably a bunch of guys in the Wolfpack that have either dealt with this or are dealing with this right now. They don't realize it. Okay. But we can tell you what you're doing wrong or whatever, and you're going to disregard it, and you have to learn the hard way. Okay. There's a lot of you guys like this, but we had a brother in Wolfpack last year who he got himself into a relationship. He basically jumped into it. Like, I think 3rd month of the year last year. Because near the end of 2024, he was just so sick and tired of being alone that he decided he had a moment of weakness. He decided to reach out to an ex. That didn't go well. He spiraled downwards. And one of his friends was like, dude, you need to fucking get out there. You need to get out there and find a new chick. Like, you cannot be alone right now. Go find a new chick. That was their advice, right? That was guys that have never done the work on themselves either, right? Go find a new chick. So he went fucking hard on the dating circuit in December, January, and February, ended up in a relationship with this chick in March. And it was just toxic as fuck, like all last year. And he kept bringing all this shit. He had all these ideas in his head where he was just looking for reasons to self-sabotage this situation. She seemed like the wrong chick for him to begin with too. And like, and one of my big things for guys is before you even consider getting into a fucking relationship with any of these chicks, make your contenders list. Okay. I talk about it and I go into depth in what that looks like in Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. I do talk about it in Forget That Bitch. I talk about the idea of the contenders list, but I refer you to Everything I Wish I Knew When I Was 18. But it's a simple list where you sit down. On the left side of the page, you write out everything you want in your ideal relationship, all the qualities you want. And a lot of guys are like, yeah, I want her to be hot and have big boobs and fucking nice ass. And, like, yeah, all that stuff's fun. That's all great, right? But you got to understand that beauty fades, but being irritable, bitchy, and just God, what's the word I'm looking for? Just a fucking annoying ass bitch. That's forever. Okay. Like that personality is forever. So besides the looks, you need to list out qualities that insufferable bitch. That's the word I'm looking for. In all the qualities you want in your wants list, you need to have like, personality type traits in there. Is she nurturing? Is she kind? Does she support your mission? Stuff like that. Like, can she cook? Like, is she good at fucking cooking? Does she shag like a Manx? Does she enthusiastically worship your dick? Okay. You want to put that kind of stuff in your wants list. And then on your do not wants list, you probably already know everything you don't want, because most guys can only think about what they don't want, but they never focus on what they actually want. And we get what we focus on in life. And most of you guys are focusing on what you don't want, and that keeps showing up for you. Okay. So you need to start focusing on what you actually want and have a contenders list, and then weigh these chicks against the contenders list. And if they don't meet the qualifications, they can't be a contender. That's why it's called a contenders list. I named it that because I'm a pro wrestling nerd. And in order to even challenge for the title, okay, you have to become the #1 contender. You do that by beating everyone else out. So that means that when you're going out dating, you have to spin enough plates to get a pool where women are qualifying to you. And then you're testing them all against this list. And anyone that don't make it, they're only plate level. They can only ever be plates that you have fun with. You don't have to do anything serious with these chicks. You can walk away way easier when you're just spinning them as plates. Plates fall off. You get new plates. It's fun. Okay. But every one of these chicks, just watch their behavior. Don't try to fit them in the boxes. Like they either fit in or they don't. Okay. The ones that don't make the list. Okay. And that's fine. But what you'll find is that when you do that and you date that way, the cream rises to the top and you'll find women that actually fit in those boxes. Nurse Chick fits in every single one of my boxes. Cause I talk about having your top 5, right? Like just highlight 5 that are deal breakers and whatever. And like, if they don't fit in the top 5, they're not a contender. Nurse Chick actually fits in my entire fucking list. It's pretty amazing. Okay. But that's how it can work if you actually sit down and do that. But most guys aren't doing that kind of shit. Okay. And so some of you guys are already in a rebound relationship and you're afraid of losing her. You're afraid of being alone. Okay. A lot of guys, they don't stay in bad relationships and bad patterns because they're really in love. They stay because being in a relationship feels better than being alone, and the dating circuit's a grind, and these modern women out here and whatever, all this negative shit that they tell about themselves. So they attach fast, they overlook red flags early, and they end up in the same place again. Now, how do you know what red flags are if you haven't sat down and done your contenders list, bro? Oh, well, I read Rich Cooper's book, and Rich Cooper has a whole entire chapter with a list of 20 red flags to spot in women. And then one of those red flags, being a single mom, is an entire chapter of itself because he fucking hates single moms or what. Fine. Okay. But I'll tell you what, Rich Cooper's, and I'm not shitting on Rich Cooper. Rich Cooper's red flag list is subjective. Those are Rich Cooper's red flags. You got to figure out what the fuck you want. And then, you know, the opposite of what you want is usually going to be your yellow and red flags list. And then when you highlight your deal breakers, like if a chick exhibits this type of quality, she's donezo. She's not even a plate, right? Until you do that, you don't know what your personal red flags are. Okay. So you can look at maybe Rich Cooper's list and get some ideas, but until you sit down and work it out for yourself, what you want and what you will not tolerate and shit like that, you have not, you can't identify red flags. Okay. But once you sit down and you do this exercise, the red flags will be fucking bright as shit, right? They won't be red flags. They will be like police sirens. Okay. You will see that shit and you can't unsee that shit, and you won't spend your time with these bitches that you shouldn't be spending time with. Okay. But most of you guys don't do that because you're rushing into a relationship. You're overlooking red flags and you end up in the same place again. Okay. Until you can sit alone without it feeling like a crisis, you're going to keep filling that space with the wrong person. Okay. Guys, do consider sending a super chat. I think on Facebook, you can send stars or some shit. I don't know. And then on Kick, we're not monetized yet. So whatever. That's the real reason why Erkin went over to Kick. He's like, I don't want to pay Paul shit. I ain't joining your wolf pack. Fuck Paul. Okay. God Lord, this is going to be a long episode. Let me try to get through these quicker. Okay. I'm like running my mouth here. So self-improvement, you got to start working on self-improvement. That's not just, you know, not just theater. Okay. So between relationships, a lot of guys will do a little bit of the work, right? They'll work on going to the gym. They'll get into shape. They'll start saving some money because they're not, you know, because they're not having to spend all this shit on women all the time and stuff like that. They'll listen to podcasts like this, and they'll read all the dating books to try to get a leg up on the dating and stuff like that. But they're doing it just to attract the next woman. They're not really doing it to rewire what's up here, to not create neural pathways for better relationship paradigms. They're not doing any of that stuff. It's all surface level to attract their next girlfriend. So the improvements are real on the surface, but the foundation's still the same guy with the same patterns, just dressed up better, right? He's in better shape now, but it's the same guy. Real change is asking why you keep ending up here, not just how to look better for the next one. Okay. And that's why I was talking about how the 3% brothers, like a lot of those guys would read the material. And in that group, we were reading Corey Wayne's stuff, and they would read it just long enough to get into their next relationship. And then they would resort back to old paradigms. Okay. It wasn't until I realized that, your results in life come from your actions. Your actions come from up here, from your subconscious paradigms. Okay. Your subconscious programming will control your actions. 95% of our actions are habit-based. We do it without any conscious thought at all. Okay. And you got to understand that also means relationships too. 95% of your actions in relationships are habit-based. You do it without any conscious thought. And so if your results in your relationships aren't working well, you've got to change those actions. To really change those actions for good, you have to change what's up here. Okay. You can go to the gym as much as you want, but that doesn't change what's up here. Okay. So you got to do that. Yeah. So and a lot of guys also were never taught the rules of the game. Okay. No one sat you down and explained things like hypergamy, how attraction really works, how to maintain respect in a long-term relationship. So you went in blind every single time, the same mistakes, getting the same results, and wondering why are all these women like this? Why are all these modern women fucking broken? Right? Fucking feminism did all this to women. Okay. Yeah, so women have their problems and stuff like that, okay? But you never knew the game you were operating in, okay? You were operating under a blue pill paradigm of Disney princesses and living happily ever after, and all you have to do is bring flowers and chocolates and woo these women and really qualify them and make these women like you and show off your money and all this kind of stuff to try to attract these women. And then you have the same problems every time. And then you're like, fucking women are broken. It's like, no, man, you just didn't know the rules of the matrix. Okay. You're operating in this environment that you were never given the rules to, and you were never given a leg up. Okay. So that's why you tune in here. You gotta learn the rules of the game. Okay. And then also a lot of guys really have scarcity mentality. And it's going to ruin your chances on the dating circuit. It's going to ruin every single relationship. Okay. When you go into a relationship from a place of, I need this to work, I can't lose her, I got to get her back and all this kind of stuff, you start making decisions from fear instead of strength, right? You're operating from lack instead of a world of possibility. You tolerate things that you shouldn't. You stop setting the tone and leading. You become someone she loses respect for slowly over time. We call this the betatization process. And it doesn't matter how many times you start over with a new woman or new women or whatever. If that scarcity mindset follows you, the outcome follows too. Okay. Remember what I said before, quoting Rollo, but the cardinal rule of relationships is whoever is willing, whoever needs the relationship the least owns all the power in the relationship. Okay. If you have a scarcity mentality and you're thinking, oh, she's the only one for me, I can't possibly go out dating anymore. I can't sort through all these women and, let the cream rise to the top. I can't be alone. Whatever your scarcity mentality is, and you're afraid of losing women, that's going to keep you in a place where you're going to let women walk all over you and manipulate you, and you're going to overlook red flags because you're afraid of being alone. And so you're operating from a place of scarcity. Okay. You got to understand that there's 4 billion women on the planet. There is no shortage of pussy out there. Okay. So trying to, keep one woman and then not upset this one because you're afraid she's going to dump you and all this kind of stuff will keep you in a place of scarcity. You're going to let women walk all over you. They're not going to have respect for you. You're going to end up in the same problems down the road. Okay. So you've got to operate from a place of abundance. Okay. Not be afraid to walk away when you need to. The thing is, it's quite the paradox. When you're not afraid to walk away, women respect you more and they're more likely to stay. It's weird. It's weird, right? All this stuff is a paradox and it's counterintuitive and it goes against all your fucking logic. Okay. But that's how it works. That's how it works. Okay. If you guys need help with this sort of thing, it does help to work with other guys that are going through it too.
Bear club? Not anymore.
Wolfpack, you fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. Too sweet. No pity, no therapy. Just fire, just flame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in steel, not ever. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
Indeed. Dark Fitness says, I like Rich Cooper. One of his red flags is women with tattoos. I love tattoos on women. It's subjective. I know, man. And you know what's cool about chicks with tattoos is, they fuck, right? And that crazy pussy, that pussy's crazy as fuck, bro. Okay, I'm just kidding. And then look at this, 10,000 Swedish kronas. That's got to be at least $5 in US dollars. I don't know what the exchange rate, but for Erkin, who came back over to YouTube just to drop that, I appreciate that. I'm going to give him this one here.
I was just gonna say it. This guy fucks. Am I right?
That's right. Oh, going back to Dar Fitness, right? When it comes to women with tattoos, guys,
That pussy must be ridiculous.
it's fucking ridiculous, bro. Kamal says, there he is, bribing you with his 10 Spanish catuzas. It's Swedish coronas, bro. Like, geez. And then Erkin went back over to Kick. He goes, I will join the wolf pack after I reach down a certain weight. I'm losing it, but not there yet. Erkin, we have a fitness accountability group in Wolfpack. In fact, Dar Fitness is in there, and he's like our resident expert on fitness and nutrition and stuff like that. You would get there much faster if you just joined the fucking Wolfpack. But you know what they say? Excuses are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and they all stink. Okay. Let's see here. These guys are having a conversation. Dar Fitness is getting Wolfpack. And then he also sent a too sweet, brother, too sweet. Okay, guys, let's get to this here. We're burning daylight. Okay. So the slow fade of your own identity. In every relationship you've had, there's probably a version of you from the first few months that was more confident, more himself, more attractive. Then gradually you started shrinking. Less time with your guys, less focus on your own goals, more of your identity wrapped up in her. And by the time it ends, you don't even recognize yourself. And then you do it all over again with the next one. Dr. Robert Glover, in his book, Dating Essentials for Men, talks about it. He calls it fusion. When you spend a lot of time with one particular person, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. When you spend a lot of time with one particular person, your personalities start fusing. Okay. And the thing is that when you do that in a romantic relationship, your personalities start fusing. You can see these people walking around the mall, right? They'll wear matchy fucking outfits. Like, you'll have the woman with a shirt that says I'm with stupid. And then like, he'll have a shirt that says I'm stupid because, he thinks self-deprecation is funny, but really she has no fucking respect for him. Right. That's because they've been fused. And they're sharing the same personalities, and now they're best friends. Oh, they're best friends, and they do everything together except for fuck, right? They don't fuck so much anymore, but by God, they're best friends, and they wear matchy outfits, okay? Some of you guys are doing that like right away. Some of you guys are doing that shit right away. You stop being attractive, and you immediately go into best friend mode, and then you wonder why you end up in the friend zone in your own relationships, okay? But it ends up being the same book and the same ending. The arguments start out the same way. The loss of respect happens. And around the same point, sometimes sooner, the breakup comes from this same place. You've lived this story 2 or 3 times already, and the details change, but the structure doesn't. Okay. The story's predictable because the main character, you, never changed between chapters. And in fact, most of you guys aren't even the main character in your own life, really. Most of you guys are supporting characters in someone else's life. Think about that for a second. You work for an employer. You're just a cog in the wheel of their machine. Okay. You are in a relationship, but you're just there to support her and her mission instead of the other way around. And then she loses respect for you, and then you end up getting dumped. Okay. You got to start being the main character in your own fucking story and figuring out what the fuck you want out of life. Okay. You're not, and not to say, like when I said, you know, you guys are working for an employer or whatever, like that's not to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's a means to an end so that you can focus on what you really want in life, right? Like, but you get the point. You get the point. So after every breakup, there's usually a window where you're fired up, focused, you're making moves. It feels like this time's different. I'm not going to let this happen to me again. A lot of guys get really motivated after a breakup, right? This is why guys like go to the gym. They start hammering the shit hard. They start reading the books really because you're super motivated, but it's short term. It's short term. This is where like discipline is greater than motivation. Because right now you're motivated, you're doing all the work and stuff like that. But when you get into a relationship, complacency sets in. If you are disciplined and you make a rule for yourself, you're like, I'm going to do this shit no matter what. Okay. I'm going to listen to Paul's books at least once a year. Right. Like you make a commitment to yourself to do this shit so you don't fall back on old programming, because those old neural pathways never go away. I often talk about reprogramming your subconscious mind so that you stop having these same problems. The thing is that you never fully reprogram anything. You create new neural pathways in your brain. We have this thing called neuroplasticity where our brains actually can change, right? Our thought patterns and our beliefs and stuff like that actually change our mind's structure. Okay. They create new neural pathways and what do they call I'm not going to get into it, but you got new neural pathways. And you can think of neural pathways like paths through a forest. Okay. You go down the paths through a forest, like you call them game trails, you know, out here in hunting country like that, but animals create walking paths to like where water is and resources and stuff like that. And it makes it easier to navigate forests. Okay. So right now your old relationship paradigms are like going down these old pathways. You need to create new ones. And the more that you reinforce these through repetition, that's why I say, listen to my books 10 to 15 times, right? Is because you want to create these new neural pathways that you instinctively go down without thinking about it. The thing is that these old pathways don't go away. So it's really easy when you stop working on these new ones to fall back over here, because these pathways over here, you built over 10, 20, 30, 40, sometimes 50 years of bad programming. You've really beaten the shit out of these trails. And so it's way easier to fall back on these old patterns. And so it's going to take a lot of effort to get these new neural pathways beaten down. So that means that that the work never stops. You have to keep doing this stuff. That's why I say, listen to the books at least 10 to 15 times. We only retain about 10% of what we read or listen to. So if you really want to create change, you have to do the work. Okay. Let's see here. By the way, guys, follow me on social media. I used to be on all the good platforms. Now I'm banned from Threads and from X. So basically on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok these days, and YouTube, right? YouTube's kind of a social media platform. You guys will see me posting more in the posts on YouTube. All right, let's bring this home, okay? Leading from the beginning or not at all. Now, here's the thing that really, you know, like if you read Get Her to Fuck You Again, right? If you're a guy that's working on your dead bedroom situation, a big part of that book is about getting back to the beginning of the betatization process, right? It's a 5-stage process that you allow yourself to be pushed through, and women subconsciously will push you through it, okay? And they'll push you down to a place where you're not attractive to them anymore, and they'll cheat on you or leave, right? They subconsciously sabotage their own relationships. It's pretty fucking funny. If you think about it, it's kind of funny. Like, why are women doing this shit, right? Well, they don't want to do it. They don't want you. They don't want to win. They don't want you to go down through the betaization process, but you don't even know that you're playing this game, and you allow yourself to do it. So a lot of that book is bringing yourself back to the beginning, to where you were the attractive guy that she first met. Okay. Then you got to learn how to handle her frame checks, her shit tests and stuff like that. And learning how to do that will prevent you from being, shoved down the betaization process, and keeps her attraction alive. Okay. So you've got to be doing that from the beginning and keep that going long term, or it's all going to end the same. Okay. So lead from the beginning or not at all. It's way easier. It really is way easier to start from scratch with a new woman and set the tone from the beginning and lead, and never let yourself fall into this position again. It's way fucking easier. Okay. So there is something to when guys say, just dump her, bro, right? And it's way easier to just dump her, bro, if you don't move these bitches in with you to begin with, right? Like Nurse Chick, for instance, she comes over and she stays every other week, but she doesn't live here, right? If she decided that, she got tired of me one day, or I decided, hey, this relationship's just really not working out for me, she and I can easily go our separate ways, and it's no big deal, right? Like, it would suck, but it's way easier. Okay. When you put a fucking ring on it, you move these bitches in with you, you guys got shared bank accounts, you got 3 kids together, you got, like all these things, it becomes infinitely harder to do this kind of stuff. Okay. So then it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? Because I didn't get married to just give up on this shit. So like, now we got to make it work. Okay. But that's why we got to make sure that we do this from the beginning. It's way easier to do it from the beginning than it is to correct a ship that's going way off course, right? Then you got to deal with this thing called the 1,000-foot tow rope. We're actually going to be talking a little bit more about that kind of idea on Friday for Frame Friday. I actually found a really good Red Pill Archive article on the concept of the scoreboard, which I believe this particular post is what Ryan Stone is using in his book on Dread and the 1,000-foot tow rope, and the concept of scoreboard comes from this article. But you got to look at it like, this is how guys are framing things. They're framing everything like a fucking scoreboard, right? And so we'll talk about that more on Friday's episode. And you can't become a new man while you're running the same programming. Okay. So, and this also goes to guys in dead bedroom situations, but most importantly, if you're in the dating circuit right now, if you're in a new relationship and stuff like that, you have to understand it's going to end the same until you fucking work on what's up here. Okay. Let's see here. I have here pre-selection, why having a life is the whole point. Women are more attracted to men who have full lives, options, and aren't orbiting them. Most guys in bad relationship patterns have let their friendships, hobbies, and ambitions erode every time they get into a serious relationship. Be honest, drop in the comments like a 1 if you've gotten into a relationship and then you stopped hanging out with your old friends. And you stop doing all the old shit that you used to like to do. Like, how many of you guys had hobbies that you used to do maybe 10, 20 years ago that you don't do anymore because your current girl doesn't like to do those things? Like, let me know. Because I'll give you an example of this. When I was married, when I first got married, I was in the Navy. And when I first met my now ex-wife, I was living on the ship. And every Monday night was Monday Night Raw, and it was during the Attitude Era. Okay. And I wasn't really that into wrestling until I got into the Navy, and I lived on the ship, and every night was a fucking event. Like, we would send some guy over to McDonald's with like $20. McDonald's had 25-cent hamburgers and fucking, 35-cent cheeseburgers at the time. And so we'd send the guys over to the base McDonald's, get a whole bag full of fucking burgers, and come back to berthing. We just dump the burgers on the table and sit and fucking watch Monday Night Raw. And it was fucking awesome. Right. And then I got married, My now ex-wife hated wrestling. So I gave up wrestling because, wife doesn't like it. Wife doesn't like it, right? Instead of like hanging out with buddies that still like that shit, I gave up my buddies and fucking, made my wife my whole world and shit. And then like, look where it got me, right? And then after the divorce, I remember going, I wonder what's on, being bored one night, no dates lined up. And I was sitting at home and I think Monday Night Raw was on. I was like, I wonder what's going on with wrestling. And I tuned into that, immediately got rehooked. And now look at me. Anyway, but how many, drop a one in the chat if you guys have ever like allowed all your friends and hobbies to fucking erode away because you made the relationship your world. Okay. Because a lot of guys do that kind of shit. Let's see here. Yeah. So most guys in bad relationships have let go of that kind of stuff. They come into each new relationship as a man with nothing going on and then wonder why she stops being attracted 6 months in. So what we got to do is look at building a new life versus rerunning the old one. So most men after a breakup look for the same relationships with better circumstances, ends up being the same dynamic, just hoping the new woman is different enough to change the outcome. It never is. It never is because you're still there. It's still you. Okay. What actually breaks the cycle is building something that doesn't resemble what you had. New habits, new standards, new version of yourself that the old patterns just don't fit anymore. Right? You stop tolerating this shit. Okay. You got to stop trying to find a better woman. You've got to become a different man. And a different man is going to select better women by default because he now has the tools, right? He now knows that he needs to create a contenders list. Things are going to be different when you realize that you got to change you and have a better strategy going forward. You feel me, dog? Cool. That's all we got. Let's see. Is there anything new? There's a fly running around here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's see here. Hey, Woody Riley. What's going on, brother? He's in the wolf pack. He says, what's up, Paul? One of the best things that the group has taught me is transmuting my pain into purpose. It has essentially turned my life around 180 degrees. I've gone from zero to the bat, formerly known as the man the kids, let's see here. Zero to the bat, formerly known as the man the kids love me seeing nice women. Okay, anyway, Woody's leveled up quite a bit. Let's just say the English needs work, brother. It doesn't make sense when I'm reading it here. And then let's see here. Salonas asks, do you have one-on-one consulting? I do. If you go to www.comeonmanpod.com, you can book a coaching session with me. And then I do charge for that just because a lot of guys will jump on a free call and they won't do any of the work. They won't do it. They will take anything I say and disregard it. So I charge for that call. But if you want to continue working with me, I credit that back to you. It's really just to weed out guys that aren't trying to do the work. If you don't think you're going to do the work, what I'd recommend you do and save yourself some money is just get my books on Audible and grab some of the workbooks and do that on your own. If you're willing to do that, like you're willing to do the work, I'll tell you that right now. Okay. I don't want people wasting money on calls with me that they're not going to use or get value from. Okay. So that I do charge for that, but that's just really to weed out the people who aren't really motivated to do the work. But if you are going to do the work, we'll reimburse you on that call. Just FYI. I don't talk about that much on the podcast because I want to work with motivated guys and I won't work with guys who aren't motivated. All right. All right. That's all we got for this episode, guys. Tune into the podcast on Friday. Like I mentioned before, for Frame Friday, it's actually going to be about Dread Game and dead bedrooms and stuff like that. So it should be fun. We're going to be talking about how everyone has the wrong mindset when it comes to fixing dead bedrooms and applying dread. So that one's going to be a really good one. We're going to be talking, largely about the original concept of dread that came out of the Married Red Pill. It was originally a step-by-step thing, which sounds awesome. Like, man, you just give me steps and I just know that I need to make it to level 3 of dread. And then I'm going to get these results. Like, it doesn't work that way. It ends up being a monumental covert contract. And when you try to fix your relationships with a covert contract, which essentially means if I do this, my wife should do this, that's covert contract. If you have that kind of mentality, you're never going to fix your relationship. Never. Never in the history of ever. Woody Riley says, using voice to text. That's what I tell the kids and women I am now. The bat, formerly known as man. It's a play on the prince. I got it. Okay, got it. Still doesn't make any fucking sense, bro. The bat, formerly known as man. I guess it's sort of like a play on Batman. I think I know where you're going with that. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. I really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll see you next time.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.